Good afternoon, good evening to you all. My name is Hendrik. I'm a cloud director with Tobania, and I'm very happy to be invited here to talk about cloud, hybrid cloud, and how to secure hybrid cloud. This is Hans. He will be conducting the second half of this presentation with a practical demo on how visibility and cloud security are needed and how we can implement that with a specific tool. Maybe just by show of hands, and I can't see a lot of hands or people in the room because I'm staring directly into the lights, but how many of you are in security or security operations? Okay. CISO guys or women in the room?
No.
No? Okay. Good. That's a good start, having some security guys in the room. I'm sure you've all had the message from the cloud that, well, cloud is upon us. It's not some kind of a fling or something that is in fashion. Cloud is here to stay. That's a statement that we can make and that we can be sure of. A lot of our clients, a lot of organizations are struggling with cloud, especially in the hybrid cloud sphere, because, well, we see that there's a lot of combinations going on of on-prem clouds or on-prem data centers, and the use of at least one public cloud in our clientele, let's say. Cloud has the promise to alleviate a lot. You won't be doing any maintenance of physical infrastructure anymore, nor will you have to maintain your, well, networks any longer. But it doesn't alleviate you of certain security roles. You will have to be in charge of this security, even if it's in the cloud. The cloud offers a number of solutions, but it doesn't omit the necessity of security, let's say. This is a typical cloud journey that we see at our clients, and basically, clients have a very diverse landscape. So we have to do some lifting and shifting. As you know, we will need to have an architecture in place, and basically we have to come to a strategy with our clients. What we see is that our clients are also struggling with the unburden and the innovation part. The market pushes towards innovation. You have to be better, offer better customer experience, do things faster. Time to market of bringing applications into production is very important. But the reality is that very few IT organizations can really mix the two. So being in charge of what is happening today in their on-prem landscape, and then being able or freeing up time or even doing some innovation on that side. And that's a pity, because cloud offers this opportunity, and it's really in public cloud that lies the opportunity for flexibility, for having cost optimizations, and so on and so on. So the mix of those two is problematic for the moment. That's a little bit or contradictory with what we see happening in the market. According to a very recent study, we see that 96% or 69%, excuse me, of the respondents had definite cloud plans, definitely in the hybrid cloud sphere. That there were a number of companies, but very few who have no cloud plans, and that public cloud is really growing. So public cloud is hyper growing, in fact. And if we look at the big topics that still remain in terms of cloud adoption, it's about security, it's about compliance, it's also about governance, of course, and managing cloud. Managing cloud will again result into more security and compliance issues because of the growth of the organization, the business value that is being put into the wild, let's say. So talking about security in hybrid cloud, for me, it is really important to see what is really happening, to see everything and being able to monitor and captivate everything that is going on. Especially because a multi-cloud architecture is diverse, it's complex. You have to look at the different security roles, the different responsibilities that are shifting. And in terms of models, if you choose IaaS, PaaS, or SaaS, you will be you will have to organize yourselves to manage that combination and to manage that complexities in the security sphere. It all starts with a good governance, and well, you need the governance in the whole span of your activities. Let's say in all disciplines. You will need it in the infrastructure department, of course, but also very much in the DevSecOps teams and in the security teams themselves, of course. It is necessary to have a uniform security strategy because, cloud changes everything in terms of development, but also in terms of managing and doing the management of infrastructure. So it requires also to be efficient in incident response. The more that we can be efficient in that incident response, the more we will be looking at with trust towards our hybrid cloud setup. Like I said, it's very important to have a clear view of what is going on in this cloud environment. We have to know which data sets and what workloads we are managing. We will have to define a risk-based strategy, one that is aligned with the maturity of the cloud adoption of your environment, and of course, safety first and doing a cloud or a security by design posture is important. In terms of including as much as possible the DevSecOps teams in this whole story is, of course, very important. And we have to be efficient in monitoring and in responding to incidents. This will be one of the topics in our demo that we will show you in a few minutes. Like I said, visibility is key, and here you see the different cloud models. It is shifting towards more and more non-visible, let's say, the more or the higher level of cloud maturity or cloud service that you are using. So it is really key to mix and to understand the mix and to really be able to make the combination of those and to get the complexity of the combination, of course. This is how a high-level hybrid security concept can be like. Of course, in this setup, you will need a platform that is flexible and that is open. You will have to integrate with a number of APIs of the cloud providers, of course, also with a number of security products and so on and so on. And of course, all of these systems provide information in a different way. You will have to be able to captivate that information, to parse it, and then to, of course, process it in the rest of your security operations, of course. We will move on towards the demo that we will do with Exabeam. Exabeam is really a platform that is disruptive in terms of security monitoring. It is based in a very specific setup, and it is, let's say, focusing on the organization and the user specifically. So in this demo, we will make a combination of on-prem things happening and about cloud usage as well.
Yep, thanks. Hey, how are you all doing? So yeah, I'm going to tell you a little bit about Exabeam and what we do with cloud and on-prem and how we stitch all of that information together. So it's already good to see that a couple of you guys are doing some security work in here. So the first steps that I want to show you is the Exabeam data lake. So these are the components that Exabeam has. So in data lake we gather all of the information that you have. So everything from cloud, from on-prem, all of the logs that you have in your environment, we want to have them in the data lake. The data lake then sends that information towards Exabeam Advanced Analytics, where within Advanced Analytics we do a lot of cool stuff with that. So the things that we do with it is that we baseline stuff. We build models on user IDs. We build models on entities that are within your network, and entities must have an IP address before they can be modeled. An example for you, right? For you, a normal person comes in the office at 9 o'clock, and 9 o'clock, maybe 9:15. So the model learns from you that between 9 and 9:50 is normal for you to get in the office. If you, for instance, get in the office at 10 o'clock, then I could assume that there is some kind of risk on you. It could be happening that you've been pulled off from your bicycle, someone stole your badge and is accessing the company on your behalf. But normal, traditional means would not detect that. We will not be able to see that, but there is a fingerprint, and the fingerprint is your behavior. Because what do you do normally if you go to the office? You go in, grab a cup of coffee, maybe go to the toilet, you go behind your desk, or maybe you hang out a little bit with your coworkers, go and share a little bit of knowledge together, go to your desk, start up your email, go into your applications, start programming, or whatever you want to do, right? That's your fingerprint, that's your behavior, that's more or less like what you do every day. If someone gets in your company with your badge, he is not going to do your work. Of course not, because then you can go home, keep your hand open and get your paycheck every month, right? And that's not happening. So he's searching for something, right? He maybe wants to steal your IP, wants to steal your programming, wants to do something. Maybe he wants to extort you or something like that. The main message is of all of the reasons why someone wants to do something is that he is starting to look for stuff. So he comes in the company, he goes into rooms that you normally don't access. So that means that his behavior is already deviating from the behavior that you have. And that's where we give points. We give points for the fact that you came in late. We give points for the fact that you are entering rooms for the first time. We maybe even give points for entering rooms that you or people that do the same work that you do not enter that room normally. And it could also be that no one ever entered that room before from the whole company, and we give it even more points. So that's the basics of advanced analytics, what we do. And then the last part is incident responder. An incident responder is a piece of automation that if someone has hit 90 points, that's our magical threshold where we say like, okay, now someone is really notable, now I need to investigate what this person is doing. And that we can kick off scripts, we can enrich tickets, we can fire off things into VirusTotal or do domain lookups or things like that, or even look up for malicious emails that have been sent, phishing emails in other users' email boxes, and eradicate them, for instance. So how does advanced analytics look? Because that's where the magic actually happens. So first of all, you see the two screens in the middle. So that's the queue with the tickets and stuff that have been assigned to you. And the other thing that is that you see is that the notables, the notable users. My laser isn't going that far. Okay, so I will use my mouse. The notable users and the notable assets. So these are users and assets that have accumulated 90 points or higher. Then we also model account lockouts. So if someone has tried to get into AWS or Azure or any other platform or Active Directory, and he has locked himself out because he was drunk yesterday or something like that, well, of course you get a green locket because that's totally normal, right? But if someone is trying to attack the company with a dictionary attack, and he is doing a spray attack or something else using RDP or whatever kind of things and doing it across a lot of servers or anything. You want to see that because that lockout is definitely different and leaves a different signature. So that's the stuff we can see, because if you call the help desk to unlock your account and it's a spray attack or something like that, you give them another shot in getting a chance in your company. Then what we also do is we model service accounts. So the service accounts are normally very still and very stable accounts. They should not be used for actual interactive usage. So at the moment they deviate from normal behavior, we definitely want to see that. And we already want to see that before it's hitting that 90 threshold. And of course we have our VIPs. And our executive users, they have a lot of power within the company. They have the power to make a deposit of a lot of money, writing that to someone else, right? I think there is this Dutch cinema company who has a lot of experience with that. And let's go into a use case. Let's see Gary Harden. So Gary Harden, he's a software engineer, and so the good things that I see in the beginning is that what does this person do? What are the user IDs that he is using within his timeline? So he's G. Harding and HN. He's working out of Seattle. He's working from the department engineering. I see his manager, and also I have contact details for his manager, the same as for the person itself. I see whether the account is active. If someone is disabled and I see activity, then that's, yeah, well, it covers the message. Sorry for my wording, but it's the shit hits the fan event, right? And I see whether he's an employee or he's a hire, or yes or no. And I also see what kind of peer group he's a member of. So I already spoken a little bit about the peer groups. And the peer groups are people who are doing the same kind of job that I am doing. And the system makes a calculation on whether there is a match, yes or no. And based on that match, someone is being put in that peer group. So I see, I can see the tickets that have been created based on Gary, and that also means that gives me an impression on like, okay, so how cyber savvy is Gary? And if I look through this, then I think he's not, right? Then another indication is the security or the risk histogram. And this table gives me over a couple of days how much risks that he has accumulated. And if I click on one of the days, I see the risk that he has accumulated. So he has accumulated 177 points, and they are broken down by these headlines, sorted from high to low. So headlines like he's accessing some from first-time assets. And if this is interesting for me, I can go to his timeline. And this is something that's really important for us, because with a click of a button, I can see a user what he is doing and what he has been accessing on a day. And on a session, that's the moment someone logs in and someone logs out. That can be a VPN initiation or DHCP request or just a normal Active Directory login. So I see that Gary is doing some stuff. He's logging into machines for the first time, and actually, well, this looks quite normal for me. Like, okay, it can happen that he's going into machines for the first time. So if I scroll down a little bit further, then suddenly I see something with activity in GitHub. And first activity for organization for the application GitHub git clone. So that first activity for organization says that this is the first time that he did something that no one else has done within the whole organization. That makes it quite unique. So if I click on that, it gives me a lot of information. And it gives me the information that he was looking at the object Angular UI. And if I look a little bit further, I see that he is in the group AutoCAD. And if I then look in a model, because that's in the end what we do, we model what is normal and what is not normal, then I see that for the whole group of AutoCAD people, Angular UI is never being accessed. So here comes already something like, okay, well, it could be that he's doing something for his manager, right? I could pick up the phone and call his manager and ask him like, okay, so what's going on? Is he working on his project or not? But I'm missing context, right? For me, this could still be normal. So I go into the next day. His session is ending, and I will go into the next day. And then I see that he's physically entering through the parking. That's not normal for him, so I also get a risk transfer from past sessions. Because he had already some risk the past session, I will transfer that to the new day. Because I also want to catch the low and slow attacks. That means that I start every day with 0 count of risk points. And if I don't do that, that means that I will never ever be able to detect the low and slow attacks. So Gary is coming in through the parking. And by the way, I see that his highest top score is the toilet. Huh, okay, good to know. So he is also, for the first time, in the service entrance. And I also see that Gary Harden gave his notice. So that means that he's actually quite risky for me as an organization. And that, in combination with what I saw yesterday, means that he did a checkout from something, and he's a leaver. Okay, let's see where this is taking me. So he has some more remote access, and I see that he's getting into GitHub again, and he does a clone from all of the backups. And let's see. And he's even doing some more nasty stuff here. And in the end, if I look, I see that my Palo Alto is reporting that I see some stuff going on the host itself. And I see he's doing a remote access to something else, to a machine. And he's using a different user for that. He's using that user a Chen. So he's actually exfiltrating information from my network using another user. And then his session has ended. And that means for me that also, by the way, normally I would see 60, something like 50, 60 kilobytes, and I see that he's uploading 3.3 gigabytes. So that also triggers me. So if I look back in the session, I can already say that here in the beginning, I already have the 90 points of making him notable. And if I go below, the first time when actually an alarm was triggered was at the moment that Palo Alto was saying something fishy was going on. That means by looking at his behavior, we are way more capable and way more faster in saying something strange is going on with this user than if we only trigger based on alarms. And this would also be a reason for HR to ask this person to come in the office and have a little chat about what he was doing actually on this checkouts and why he was uploading that stuff. Then I want to show you another use case as well. A use case for Barbara Salazar. And if I look here at Barbara, she is also very click-heavy. She clicks on everything that comes under her nose. And if I look here, she has some credential switching. So this is that high overview again. So she's account switching to another account, and this gives me reason to actually investigate what she is doing. And if I look what is happening in her timeline, I see that there is a first activity from the country Ukraine. And if I look here, then normally all of the VPN requests from her come from the US. And I can also say whether the model is very confident on whether this is a deviation from normal or not. And it is. 97% is quite confident. And I also see that it's the first time for the whole company that someone is coming from the Ukraine. Now, could this be a case that that Barbara is on holiday? Of course, I can call her, or I can call her manager to ask what Barbara is up to. And then I can get some information, but I can also look a little bit further in the timeline. And of course, because she is coming from a different country, there is a new ISP, and I also see that there is a new connection from a device called CC559. And if I then look on Barbara's name, then I see that Barbara normally uses the laptop called LTB Salazar 888. So now there already must click something that something is going wrong here, because that CC559 is a device that I do not know. All right, if I investigate further, I see a first connection from this device. I see a risk transfer from a past session. I see some new IP addresses. The Ukraine. Okay, so this is all stuff that I assume because it's from a new country. Then I see that LT Salazar, so that's the laptop itself, the user B Salazar and the account B Salazar is being used. And this is from a zone called Atlanta office. So I can call Barbara and ask whether she is coming from Atlanta, yes or no. But because I see it's her device and these are her credentials, I will assume that this is the case. So I see some remote sessions going on. And if I look here, then I see that Barbara is accessing some more devices that are normal. And in the next step, I see some strange things going on. I see the source host is that device again, and I see it's the user B Salazar, and it's switching into an account called SA. So that's an SQL admin. And to stitch these kind of things together to one root user is something that is quite hard in other solutions. It will be seen as a totally different session, and it will not be merged together like you can see here in this solution. So then I see that this person is hopping further. He's hopping to another box. And even hopping more, and then I see that he's logging into a database, and he is logging into a database called payroll. Then he is going into the database itself, and I see that he's exfiltrating information. And the information that I normally would expect would be 30 kilobytes, and he's actually exfiltrating 0.5 terabyte. And this is the moment where I say, like, okay, so I have my case complete, and it's time to get all of the logs and make sure that we get the guys who are actually doing this and get in touch with the Ukrainian police, I guess. And then 2 days later, they are on the street again. Sorry to say that. And I want to conclude my demo. So, are there any questions on this or on the presentation that Hendrik just gave? Hendrik, please join me. Yes?
Is it pluggable for inputs? I mean, could you also use LDAP logging
Yep. Yep. Actually, we use Active Directory as basis, and indeed LDAP we use that as context information for the system. But anything that generates a log, it can be put on a system. So it can be a database, it can be some kind of a custom application that you wrote. As long as we get the specs of the logs and a couple of lines, for example, for your logs, we can write a parser for it. And at the moment we have a parser for it, we can use it to model over. Yeah. Any more questions? Okay. If you have to say something, or
well, I just want to thank everybody for attending this session, and yeah, hope to see you at our booth. We still have a lot of Terminator T-shirts to give away, so and you can drink some beer as well. That's always a good thing. Thank you.
Thank you very much.